So this is our bullish count, and it's still in play until this is broken at this particular point. However, there are sectors that are looking really quite weak, and as you know, the that bank, the SVB bank, that closed its doors on $200 billion. There'll still be skeletons dropping from that. So the finance sector is one of the sectors that are leading to the downside. And yeah, so this is the XLF here. So we're looking at it as an A and a B and a C up here for B wave, and then looking down for 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 down here. So it's not the only sector that's weak because of that particular bank. We've got the healthcare sector here as well, which is looking quite weak. The consumer discretionaries has always been a bit softer as well. So we're getting these markets that are heading lower, and it's quite clear to say that. So it's probably, it's possible that we could push up from here, but it's not probable. If we found a really nice support on top of the 4,000, then we can look at being short at that, long at that particular point in time. But in the meantime, we'll need to look at how do we get into the downside? What would be the timing for that? How do we look at that, you know? So I'll just go to the weekly chart here, and we'll just have a look at the bigger picture here for a moment. So markets like to go from one big number to the next big number. Sometimes they go past it, sometimes they fail to reach it, but generally speaking, it's, you know, it's the thing. And basically my thing was always that to be very patient at this particular level, and if it ever found support, well, then we'd go long from that point, and that's still the case, but we're just not getting that at the moment. We're on the south side of that number, and we've already had one sort of retest of that where it's failed. Based on the stochastics here, we'll probably get another chance to move into this. Now the question is that the normal thing would be, you know, to go from one big number to the next big number, so to speak, just as a very general comment. Also, too, looking at the length of the first leg here, you know, and pushing that over to the second leg over here, the bit of equality there. So coming down into the 3,000 would be about right for this. And, you know, the Feds really want to see, you know, they want to see a change, you know, and any change would do them at this stage. And that brings me to the comments of the inflation, which we've got the PPI figures on Wednesday and the claims for jobs on the Thursday. And I think around the 22nd next month, the Feds will mention if they're going to push rates at 25 or 50 basis points as well. So that will be, you know, that could really see the markets push down at that time. So a lot going on at this point. So those figures and the CPI figures on Tuesday, actually. So yeah, they're all, it's very much inflation middle of the week type stuff. So so how do we count this? What are the different ways we can count this to the downside? Well, we could put wave A here, and we can put wave B here, and then we could just count 5 waves down here. That's one way of looking at it. We could also push this over here and push this over to here, and then look at this as wave 1 to the downside with a wave 2 to the downside. It's a little bit big for a wave 2, but it really hasn't broken any rules. The SP 500 has got a slightly different thing here. So with the SP 500 here, we can go an A and a B and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 up here for this. Now I could look at it as wave 1 here and back for wave 2, but it's a very sharp wave C for this. So it's possible. This is why we need to be a little bit sort of mindful. We could get, you know, an A and a B and a C here and then push up from that point. It's doable. I'm not ruling it out. But in this case here, you see where we've got the B wave over here because it took out the top of the A wave here. So in terms of timing of things, it's probably better suited with the B wave over here. But they're just two things that we will need to monitor in that regard, you know. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. So, but either way, the main point is that we need to get from, you know, from this level down to this level. There will be level price points on the way here. The trading levels are the Fibonacci numbers 1, 2, and 3 for group 1, 5 the midpoint, and then we've got 8. When we talk about 8, we talk about group 2, so that's 8 and 3650 here and 73,720 and so on. So we'll be looking at those, but in a bit of a nutshell, we're looking at some sort of move to come into here at that point. If we get support on the 4,000, well then we'll look to go long again at that point. So now we've been running bearish count on the 50k and the 1k, so they're going to become a little bit more dominant now because well, we're under the level at this particular point now. We're not on support. Now, if we get back on support, well, then we'll be looking for the long term. But we need to prepare now for this journey south here. If it's going to play out, we need to be on it. It's as simple as that. Okay, so we need to prepare for it. So let's prepare. Okay, so on this 50k. Last time we were talking about it like this here in terms of an ABC here for the B wave. It's a bit, you know, you would expect the other thing too is that, you know, looking at this as wave 1 here and ABC for wave 2 is kind of okay because, you know, as a B wave here, you would expect it to go back above, you know, the previous high up there for all of that. But we'll take one step at a time and we'll just go conservatively at this point. So there's different ways to count this move down from the top, okay? Now, just thinking about it logically is that there is really good support at the 3,800 here. Okay, so we're going to see support there, right? Now, that support, hopefully we'll see the market push up, and that's going to give us an opportunity to start working the lows at that point, because what we want to see is we want to see this number here retested and failing at that point. And if it moves up in 3 waves, well, then we can short it on the B wave here, because this will be an A and a B and a C wave here. And if it does come down to the 3.8 here and then on the Monday next session and then bounces off that, then we'll have a nice clean low at that point, because we short it here and we get the bounce here. You know, we've got the weekly stochastics pushing us up, and we've got, this is a bit like this on 50,000 ticks, a bit like the daily that wants to push up there as well. And also too here, we can see that we've got 1 and 2 and 3 in here and 4 here, and this will be the 5th wave here. Now on when things close, you know, in the off session, in the off hours, you know, it can get a little bit messy. But yeah, so we could look at this in different ways. I could look at this here as wave 1 down to here and wave 2 over to here. And then I could look at this 5 waves here as wave 1 here, and then look at it as wave 2 to the upside here. Okay. It matters, of course, but in a way for us as a trader to get on the short side, as a trade setup, it doesn't matter a great deal, because all we want to see is the bounce off the low here, and we want to see it move up. Now, if it moves up in 5 waves, then we know we're going to get a correction and we're going to move up again. But then it will expose the B wave here that we can go short on at this point. And once it does all of that, we'll look for the setup in there. But the next sort of stage with all of this, it will come back down again, and it may not even go all the way up there, because if it's this wave 2, it'll be lower. And if it's this wave too, it could even be higher. You know, if we take this top here and put it into here, then we've got this, we've got that there is a little pocket for the 61.8% in there, do you know? So we could get a spike above the level, or we could be below the level here. So we'll just need to have a look at where stock is and, you know, craft something going on. But basically this low that gets supported here, because this is coming down to test it at this time, so it's going to bounce off there, you know. And when it does bounce off of there, it's how far it goes up is yet to be determined. But eventually it's going to come back through, and it's going to try to test all of this support here. And then this will be the next opportunity to go short at as well. So I'm just talking about support and resistance, you know. And we use, this is all of group 2 here, so I call it the 65 number, the 3,650, the 72 and the 80, you know, and that will play out as, you know, as a point. So then this will be the next step down here as well. Now, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you know what you're doing. So, you know, we may be able to short up here somewhere, we could short up here, and we can get a position in here and get positions in here and here and those sort of things. So we'll be doing our best to navigate that situation, but I'm just sort of pointing out that that this area here, this is a block here, right? That's going to be support at this point, and later on it's going to become the resistance. So it doesn't really matter about the wave count. If you just even understand that, then you'll understand that, you know, where you can kind of move in a bit and hold on and all the rest of it, you know. So yeah, that's so let's just go to the 1000 ticks here. Now the 1000 tick is going to have a different looks like the Asian markets are just opening now, but when I go to the 1000 ticks, it's going to be a different count. So in this case we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 coming down here for wave 1, and then back for wave 2. In the other one that we look at, we're probably looking at this as wave 1 and 2 in here, and then wave 1 and 2. So we're just being prepared and just tracking a couple of counts in the same direction. Okay, so that's a little corrective pattern here, I would imagine. So that's a little A, B and C here, so that will probably come down from that point. But apart from that, let's just get in a bit more. So from the top up here, in this case we're looking at it as 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 here, a little bit tighter as wave 1 and 2. And then we'll be looking down for well, it's a bit different really. I could really do this in different ways here, and I don't want to sort of confuse the issue, but what I'm sort of thinking, just being just taking it at sort of face value here for a moment, is that we do have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, so we should see some sort of bounce over here, right? And that bounce is just really important, you know. Even if it comes back up, well, what it would do is, I don't think it's down for 1, back for 2, down for 1, back for 2, down for 1, back for 2 and then down. I don't think it's like that. I think that we're going to have a little bit of breathing space. So wherever that low is here, then we could look for the market to come back into this space here for this. So that's kind of what we want for the Monday. We want it sort of down and then up for the Monday, just to try and get that happening. I mean, this here is the length of wave 1 as it stands at the moment, this length here. So if I had this as 1 and 2 here, then the third wave here, if this was going to be the third wave here, then it's going to have to be deeper at that point. And if that's the case, then 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, you know, moving down further at that point. But I know that because we've got all that support there, it's not going to get through that very quickly. That's a, you know, that's a glass ceiling, and they're pretty strong. You just ask the girls about that. So yeah, let's just wait for let's just to see what it does here, you know. I think that's the what I would like to do at this particular point in time. So I'll leave the S&P at that. So we're looking for some sort of bounce, and then we'll try to figure out, I'll try to figure out If this is, because I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. That's what I think. If I can just grab this here as 1 and 2 here and 3, because this is how I've labeled it with a lot of stocks at this point, as wave 4 here, and then going down to have a wave 5. Yeah, they'll do down for wave 5. So I think in green here it's basically 1 and 2 and 3. I don't think it's blue wave. Anyway, 3, 4. So yeah, we'll just wait for the bounce, and then we'll work. Once we've got the bounce, we'll work for the lower. Let's have a look at the NASDAQ, see where that is at this point. So the NASDAQ, we'll just go straight to the bearish count. Now, once again, because we got 5 waves in this leg here, we could look at this as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here, or an A wave, a B wave, and then 1 and 2 here. So that's the same thing as well. So there can be a bigger opening for this. Now, obviously the Teslas and the Apples are holding this up a bit further, and I don't have them as bearish counts just yet. I mean, I have them coming much down deeper, but still within the 1-2 bracket. And it's not like the NASDAQ has broken down at this point, because we've got, if I look at this, because I mean, it's really quite simple. If we're going to go long in the markets, we can just go long above here, you know, and we could be long for ages at that point. But in the meantime, we are heading down, and we need to prepare for this. So once again, there's a good floor here at the 11,500. It's a medium level and a bit of an unusual number, but you know, it's the halfway mark between 10 and 13, 2 major levels. So it'll play out. So it's going to come down and test that area there. So we need to look at 5 waves in this move coming down here. Now we could do the same. We could go 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 5 and have wave 1 and 2 here for this. Yeah, we could do that. We could put this down. We could count 5 waves here and go wave 1 at that point and wave 2 here. We could do that. But it doesn't really matter in a way, because in this way we're going to come down in 5 waves, right? And then we're going to be pulling back, and it's that pullback, that test there, that's where we can go in, start to build short trades in above this level and then also below this level here. Okay, so that's kind of the plan. Yes, and it could still be, the whole thing could still be bullish. We could look at this as wave 1 over here and so on. But we're looking for the downside at the moment. But even though we're not ready to short it, we're just preparing, that's all. And we can go to the 1,000 ticks here as well, I think. So there may be a different count on this here. It's going to bring in some more data. That's probably too much, but not quite. That's okay. We'll bring in a bit more then. 15 might chip it into the top. So we've got this top up here, which can be a wave B or wave 2, but really I need to lift that up to, I'm a bit lazy with the labeling. Yeah, so that up there for that. So I could put that as wave, I'll just better fix this up here as wave C here, and I'll just remove that for the moment and put that there, and that's not going to be there, so I'll just leave that there. So I've been counting this down as 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2 here, and then 3, 4, 5. So I can look at this as wave 1 here and 2 here. That's doable at this point. So, like I say, there's different ways to count it down. So if you've got a different way, it doesn't really mean that you're wrong, or if you see another count that's like different, and that's okay too. All I'm suggesting is that down here somewhere after the next session, because we can look at this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and coming down for 5 here. So, you know, it may, you know, I'm looking for a move like this and then an ABC back, you know. And then down again, but it may just cascade down here further. But even if it does cascade down here further, we still want to find some type of corrective rally here. And we also technically we want to move past what I'm trying to do as well is move past the possibility of all of this being down here, an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave down here for the bullish count, you know. So once we get here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, you know, because that could go up from that point. So we're just trying to, because anything below that 5-wave structure, then we can look to move into the short side. But we want this below this here, you know. So we need it down here further, but at the same time I know we're going to get that turn on it, so we just need to be a little bit mindful about that. So nothing really to be had here just yet on all of this. That's my sort of point. Even though it looks bearish, it's just not there yet, you know. I mean, that could be the end of it just there, right there, do you know? I don't know. As, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and probably over here for that. But I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't really matter at this point. We want it to land, and we want some type of corrective rally there. Okay, let's just have a quick look at the at the Russell. So the Russell's coming down pretty quickly here. So it's hit this trend line here, of course, and it's sitting on that. So it's going to work itself around that as a classic trading levels pattern: the arrival, the reaction, the first low below the level, and then go back above. So it's going to play around that. And we're in group 2 here, the 65, 72, and 80 here. And obviously it's coming deep into demand area. So there's going to be good support here as well. So this is a little bit more bearish, and we can technically with all of these, once that low here is breached, then it forces this to be an A and a B and a C wave at that point. So at that point it would validate a deeper move at that point. Okay, so there's different ways to look at this. We could also look at this as wave 1 and ABC for 2, but it doesn't really give me a nice 5-wave structure here for that as well. So I'll just take it at this point, and we'll work it from here. And as we were looking at it last week, we could look at this in a couple of different ways as well. We could look at it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. We could do that. We could put that here as 1 and 2, and then a third wave down here. I think we talked about shorting it around the 4th wave here, so you might still be holding that. We don't need that. So this is probably, let me look at this, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1, 2, third wave, 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4 coming down here for 5. Remove that, put wave 3 here for that. Can I look at it in any other way? Can I make all that wave 1? Not really. So I'm just talking to myself. So another wave 4 here. It's going to be a bit choppy in here. You know there's going to be support in here. It's going to get messy in here. Yeah, I think it's like this really. So it's down into here, a wave 4, a wave 5 with support here, and then a 4 and then a 5 here for a larger move at this point. And then that will be, this will be a larger wave 1 at this point. And this will also be some sort of, I probably need to fix this up a little bit, but just to give you a little bit of perspective here of what we need to get through, because there's going to be lots of support at this, in this area here, you know. What you see here is not what you get next. You always get the opposite of what you're looking at. So there's going to be support down here, and then that would, and we could see this is a third wave in here. So that means that this would be the third, the fourth in here, maybe go back that far, the 5th in here for the third, the 4th will probably be a bit lower. All this trend line will come in and play with that as well, and then 5 here. So this one is really sort of over here for this. this one over here, that's what you need to navigate. I mean, if you're short, if you got short here, I think, because we did talk about shorting the rallies here, if you short here and you want to get through all of this, then you really need to keep your stops out the way over here for that. And if you can't take the heat, then you've got too much money in the market. Now, I could be wrong, and it could just cut straight through here on the Monday, you know, just cut straight through all this like butter. So having a small position at least in there, you know, if you normally trade, you know, 10 or 20 contracts, you could just trade, you know, 2 or something. Okay, so that's that. And the Dow Jones, if I took a bearish view of this, I would have to put wave, this is in the bigger picture here, so the wave A here on 50,000 ticks, so a bearish count, the A wave here, and A, B, and C for the B wave here. And then I'll have to look at this as wave 1 here with an A, B, C for wave 2 here, and then 1 and 2 here. And this could also be counted differently, but I was thinking if the others are going to kick back, then we'll get a little kickback in here as well. So this is the 50-60% in here, so that's going to be interesting. That's going to be 32. So in here we can also see that we've got here as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So I'm thinking that we come down into here and then we'll have some sort of little ABC coming back. It may only come back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree or something before going down again, but this is what we'll look for tomorrow. Now I could be wrong, and it could, this is the point where it could just cascade straight down from this point here as well. And that means that we'll need to look at this as 1 here and 1 here and 2 here, that type of thing. But this is not really what I'm seeing in the stocks, you know, but it's possible. So I'm looking for that bounce more so than anything else at this point as a little ABC. And I'm thinking that we'll see how Monday goes. And if Tuesday can give us, if Tuesday, Wednesday or something can give us a bit of a kickback rally here, then that will give us a bit of a setup to move in again on this, because I think we talked about shorting here as well on the on all of these markets the last time we spoke. Alrighty, I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.